I read this thing or saw this thing on the internet that talked about how me and Beyonce and you have the same 24 hours in the day. It's what we do with it that's different. And obviously, I have none of the talent that Beyonce has in any way, shape, or form. So my impact has to come along the lines of delegation. Delegating tasks to people who not just do them good enough, but do them as well or better than I would do them. That's why I am super excited to be talking to Brett Trembly. I assume all of you know him. He's a lawyer. He's an entrepreneur. He's an author. He's a delegation expert. He's been a three-time Inc. 5000 honoree, including being number 27, 67?
67, yeah.
67 in 2022. You deserve spot 27, Brett. So my apologies for next year. And if that's not enough, he's actually on the list twice with two different companies. So Trembly Law with 30 employees, 11 attorneys, and Get Staffed Up having over 100 employees. He's also a published author for a book called Danger Zones. He's an adjunct professor at Miami Law. He's got his own podcast that has show that has so many great guests, and that you had Tua Tagovailoa's dad on, I think, for one episode.
Yeah,
Mike. So I'm super happy to chat with Brett, because he's a great guy, but also because he is the master of delegation through Get Staffed Up, through the law firm, through all those things. So Brett, thanks so much for being with us today.
Awesome. Jordan, thanks so much for having me, man. I've been excited about this for a while. I disagree with one thing, though. We all have 24 hours in the day, but Beyonce's got to have 25 or 26. Like she's special, right? Come on. We got to something. She's got to have something.
That's fair. All right. So we're on a streak of amazing guests. Last week, we had Carolyn Elephant on talking about personal satisfaction, innovation, and diversity. Oh my. For those of you that don't know, Carolyn, myshingle.com, solo by choice on its third edition now, and just really like the first and best person to talk about creating a law firm that is a true solo organization, not what we all talk about in terms of growing the firm, but really for anybody focused on that, Carolyn is the go-to resource. So that was the last episode. You definitely want to check it out, but don't do that now because we've got Brett live and we can take all your questions right here. So Brett, where do we start with the concept of delegation?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? I think it's a mindset. It's and it depends where you are in the stage of your business, your life, your practice, because when you first, like my experience, right? When I first started my law firm, and Jordan, maybe you have the same experience, but I didn't think like, okay, I'm starting today it's 9 a.m. on my first day. Okay, at 9:01 a.m., what am I delegating? It was like, I got to do all these things, and clearly I can't afford anybody to help me. So like, what do I do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? And you kind of
mine was, please, dear God, I need this phone to ring. Please, dear God, let the phone ring. Please, dear God, let the phone ring.
Yes, that's a lot of it, right? Like, okay, let me email everyone I know, and then like, I'm great, so business will find me, and I'll be different than everybody, and et cetera. So, but I use this analogy a lot, and I've yet to find one that I like more. But let's say, Jordan, you're going to start. What's your favorite kind of food?
Oh, dude, I mean, have you seen me? I like a lot of kind of food.
All right.
What's the easiest one? Pizza? Pizza gives you a lot of different examples here.
Okay, fine. Even pizza, right? Could keep it simple. You're going to open up a little pizza stand, and you're gonna source ingredients. You're gonna cook them yourself. You're gonna market it yourself. You're gonna serve yourself. You're gonna collect all the money yourself, right? Pizza, you could probably make okay on your own, and you could probably sell a little bit, right? And then you're gonna hit your ceiling very quickly because there's only so much that you can do yourself, right? If you would have said like a French food, like right, a French cuisine, and then it's a little different analogy. It's like so many lawyers open up, and we act as our own host or hostess, right? Waiter, chef, marketer, cashier, whatever type of food or restaurant analogy that you want to go with. And I wish that I had been thinking from day one of my business as a business, not just me with a laptop and say, but I like my business needs the phones answered. It needs clients taken care of. So I got to at least hire 2 people from day one, so like where do we start is no matter where you are in life right now, because even if you have hundreds of employees, there's probably things that are creeping up on your plate that weren't there last quarter that you need to get rid of. And so really you just start right where you are.
I thought I thought you were going to go with like, you've got the meat, you've got the cheese, you've got the bread, the different toppings. I thought I was being helpful with the pizza analogy, but now you're talking about like the number of steps. And obviously like, dude, I had The Bear on Hulu was one of my favorite shows for the last year. And you have all these people like crammed into the hot kitchen cooking this stuff. And, obviously it takes a whole team. So I like that analogy. I guess that leads to the follow-up question though. If you were able to go back in time to day one of starting the law firm and think this way, what would you have done differently?
Yeah, I would have had like an office, legal assistant from day one and a personal assistant from day one. Like the very first day, even pre-revenue, zero revenue, right? And my first X amount of dollars that I would have brought in would have been allocated to those people. My story and a lot of people's stories are, when you're doing non-contingency, the average amount of time you bill per day is 1 hour. And so great, you're making $300 per day because it's 1 hour, give or take, right? Now it could be a little bit higher, depending on what your rate is. So you're tapping out at $1,500 a week. That'll easily pay for some people. And then by paying for those people, right, now you could be at 2 hours per day, because that's really the problem where people get stuck is they do everything themselves. And it's just such simple math, like 2 hours per day. It sounds so easy. If I'm listening to this myself 10 years ago, I'd be like, this guy's an idiot. I can do 3 or 4 hours per day.
Yeah, I'll work 10 hours a day. I could do this. Yeah, knock it all out.
Knock it all out, not a problem. But when you look at the numbers and you really start to pay attention to how you spend your time, not a chance. It's just your business needs too much to operate.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about is the cost. What you're talking about is the opportunity cost. Like by having those people, if you can double or triple your billing time, that's more going to pay for them.
Yeah, exactly. Or, again, you're in the PI world. So it's like, I can, not do everything myself. I can have more lunches, talk to more people, network with more attorneys. I can get more cases if I'm not stuck just doing all of the, like sending my own faxes. Because I opened my law firm in November 1 of 2011, right? So we just hit 11 years a few days ago. And
congrats, man.
And so look, back in the day, which sounds weird. It sounds weird now, but we were still using fax machines, and I would write my own fax cover letter and do it very carefully, and then who it's to and how many pages, and walk over to the fax machine and put it all in, and like I'm slowing it down, so it's like annoying because what I was doing was unbeknownst to me costing me so much money.
Yeah, and I will tell you, same way, I was not smart enough to be able to hire ASAP, but as soon as I felt somewhat comfortable, I started thinking about what would that free me up to do. So for me, it was very much like, all right, I'm going to hire this intern at the local law school who was one of my trial team kids that I coached. And from that, I'm going to do 3 networking, lunches a week instead of 2. I'm going to go to 2 networking events at night instead of 1. And so that's how I was able to, I want to say rationalize, but that's not the right word because it was the right, it was the right decision. But that was the way that I was kind of able to internally convince myself to make the jump.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to discover the magic words that are going to make people have these aha moments, because I didn't have the aha moment. It took me 2.5 years to hire someone. And when I tell other people, they're like, yeah, but I don't have the money. You're like, the reason you don't have the money is because you haven't hired someone. And I don't say that from a judgmental standpoint. I say that from I'm projecting on myself 10, 11 years ago standpoint. I wish there was these magical words that are it's very simple math. If you can remove the emotion, because there's a lot of it, out of potentially not being able to pay yourself, pay your rent, like the fear of failure. If you can remove all the emotion and you say it's math, 1 hour equals this amount of money, 2 hours equals this amount of money. It's simple. I mean, and you just do it.
Well, it's always interesting to me because, look, there's now thousands of people who are telling you how to run your law firm. And there's differences between almost all those things, but there are a couple of things that are insanely consistent, right? I've never heard somebody say you should run your firm and have a full caseload at the same time to be successful. I've never heard that. I've never heard somebody say the less that you understand the big picture, the less you have vision, the better it's going to be, and just fly by the seat of your pants. And
Right.
to what you're saying, I've never heard anybody say that they've ever delegated something well to somebody and regretted it. Like that's
Yeah.
never been a thing that I've heard from an issue.
Yeah, that's funny. I guess you're right. Like I live in a very safe space. Like my message is not contradicted by a lot of people, right? Like every single book I've read, from the Napoleon Hills to the Perry Marshalls to the experts, they talk about, if you make more than about $40,000 a year, you should have an assistant, right? And that's for us lawyers. I mean, that's low hanging fruit. You know, like you're right. And there's so many people now who have had a little bit of success, not to put anyone down, right? In their law firm, and now they're going to be a law firm coach or a guru or whatever. And I think we're becoming more niched in that sense, right? There's just a lot of people, offering, feedback, and some of them are like, you gotta have a business plan first, right? Some of them are like, you got to know exactly how many cases and the type of lifestyle you want to live. There's a lot of different approaches. Some of them are like, you need to know your 5-year picture and have your 10-year plan and all those things. But a car engine can only, like, once the gas pedal's down, it can only go as fast as it has horsepower, right? Like you can't just go faster by holding your pedal down longer. That's a universal fact. If you want to get more in your business, you have to put more out of your business. You have to file more, pleadings. You have to sign up more cases. The only way to get more done when your foot's all the way to the pedal is by adding more bandwidth or more horsepower. Sometimes, Jordan, it's technology, and you know better than me, but there are tools that can help you do that. But before those tools, and even with those tools, it comes back to who's running them. Like who, meaning there's a person involved. You cannot be a true solo and not hit that ceiling very quickly. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and to the technology point, I mean, look, like read Good to Great by Jim Collins, or you can follow my experience. Like there's no moment where technology is the solution in and of itself. It's technology is the catalyst to expand the greatness. You've got enough people on the team and now you want to scale up. Or the flip side, where you apply technology to a bad system and then you just blow up all the problems. So I'm totally with you on that one. Like there comes a time where you have to have the, person power bandwidth to get whatever else done that you want, that you're not currently getting done.
And look, first of all, I love that book. Second of all, I'm not bragging saying, look at how many employees I have. That means I'm better than you. I know more than you. I'm bigger than you, etc. Because if I could make X amount of dollars with 5 employees and make the same exact amount with 10, that's not enough information to make my decision, but I'll probably respect the person who's been efficient enough to do it with 5, right? Like they haven't just hired to hire and then not put any thought into it. However, when you train the right way and you onboard the right way and you provide the kind of culture that people want to be around, then you're going to find really great people, which goes back to what you said at the beginning. You've never met someone who's delegated something to somebody good, who's done a good job, and they've been like, that was a terrible experience. I wish I would have missed my kid's soccer game so I could have done that myself. Right? Like, yeah, that doesn't happen.
Well, that's my favorite way to break that down on a good example is with the virtual answering service. Like the virtual answering service is available 24/7, but the individual people have their 8-hour shifts and there's just 3 shifts. Like you can make an easier time for your firm to be constantly contactable if you are not the one who is always the one who has to be constantly contactable.
Exactly. The only people that still fight me on this are criminal defense attorneys. Oh no, I got to answer my phone. Like, what? Why? If you're in trial or it's 2 a.m., who's answering your phone? No, why? That's ridiculous,
Look, so I started out as a prosecutor, and when I opened my own firm, we originally were a criminal defense firm.
Okay.
To this day, I still don't understand the business of the practice of criminal defense because, like, from what you're saying, great. So if that's the case, then you should get a bunch of these criminal defense attorneys together and pool resources so you're on call every 1 week a month, right? Like get 4 or 5 of them together and be like, any call that comes in for any of us at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday goes to this person this week, goes to that person. Like there should be a way to be able to still do that And I don't know. I don't know that there is. Like, you don't see that many large criminal defense firms, even though I agree with some of those concepts. I just don't know why they're not as easy to execute in practice as they sound in theory.
Well, look, because I don't think people are thoughtful enough about the nuance. They're correct that the phone needs to be answered. They're 100% incorrect that the person answering the phone needs to be them. Like, if you're trying to get an attorney on the phone because you're arrested or about to be, whatever, you're not going to wait around if someone's not answering their phone. You're on to your next phone call, right?
Right.
But like, it doesn't have to be Jordan on the phone. It needs to be somebody who's like, Jordan's kicking ass, getting someone else out of jail right now. I'll get him on the phone for you in 15. Right? Like, that's fine. And that person's going to respect you more and think you're a better lawyer than if you answer your own phone.
I mean, I will say I did get on, without going into too much detail, I did get on the phone with another lawyer who was on the phone with somebody who's in the middle of a police standoff, like on the news, like flat out. The opening of the phone call is like, turn on any channel for local news and you'll see what the line is, which was funny. And we talked everybody through it and everything was fine and no one got hurt and everything got resolved. But like, that was like, that's the moment where I was like, all right, a lawyer had to answer this call, but the amount of calls that weren't to that scale, I'm with you.
I also think there's a, again, if you're thoughtful about your techniques or your systems, hey, this is my super duper private number. If I ever need to be on the news in 5 minutes, call this number. Well, hell yeah, you answer that call, right? Like that's again easily solvable.
The bat line. All right, so I love what you talked about, like 40,000 or more, you need an assistant. I love how we're talking to that. What I want to jump to, unless there's something else that I'm missing, is what are the things that you delegate first? I know you touched on this a little bit starting from day one, but I want to like hammer that list a little bit stronger for people.
Sure. So your email, right? Your phones, your calendar, and your billing. If you find one really good assistant, and what we do is we find just amazing people who happen to live in a different country. So what's called economic arbitrage, right? Like, you're paying that person a really good salary and a good life, so they don't need to leave and uproot their whole family and move to the US in order to seek opportunities, which is a very rewarding part of what we do. But it's saving you a ton of money so that your overhead doesn't consistently increase with the revenue, because that sucks. It's daunting. It's like, man, I'm doing all this work, I'm spending all this money, but I'm making the exact same, right? That's not a fun experience. So what I tell people is, your email, lawyers, we're slaves to our email. That'll save you 20 hours a week if you do it the right way. Your calendars, of course, you don't need to be a slave to your calendar. Have someone else answer your phones. And then the billing. I talked to a guy who's Harvard educated, Harvard Law, who has over $100,000 in just already billed work. It's sitting there, not even in WIP, but hasn't sent the invoices to the client. And I was trying to explain to a non-lawyer what it is about us lawyers that we don't like to send our invoices. It's the most painful part of what we do. And it's 99 out of 100 attorneys I talk to agree with me on this. So if there's an outlier, good for you. But like, I used to go into my office on Saturdays from 9 till 12 or 1. Like, you know what? I'll just do it on a Saturday. Who cares about my family? Who cares about all the other things, right? And sometimes that's necessary, but and it was just so painful. So I know firsthand how many lawyers just don't send out the billing. And then what happens, Jordan? It's late, so our clients are bugged, and then it comes out of nowhere, and then we feel bad, so we discount the prices anyway. It's like, why are you even practicing law? Again, you open your pizza restaurant, you let people eat the pizza, and you're like, I'll send you an invoice later. And then you move on with your day. That's essentially what most of us do.
Well, and Brett, it's our firm, it's our money. Like, you don't send out the bill, you don't get paid, you're doing it for free. And from the client perspective, then it's like, well, now that whatever $1,500 bill over the last 4 months now is like one $6,000 bill. So how do you think the client feels, when you do it? It's just, yes. And I want to echo everything you said, because it's so normal to feel that way about it, but you're just like, you're shooting yourself in the foot over and over again, because you're not getting paid and you're making it more complicated for the client the minute the bill goes out, and you're killing your cash flow, and you're, putting yourself in a position to not be able to afford to pay your employees and the rent. And everything else.
On and on and on. And yet we'll go into our office and we'll just start doing email. We'll do something else other than getting that done. It's you can get lawyers to do this, and then Monday they still won't do it because I was that person. And so many people I talked to confirm that it's a wild phenomenon. Someone's going to figure out why we're like that. But man, and the impression you're creating for your clients is you're unorganized because you send them a bill every 5 months instead of every month. Right. So it just continues to spiral out of control, and it hurts you in so many ways, like you just said.
So Brett, I've got a business idea for us. We're going to book people for root canals. And when they show up to the root canal, they get the opportunity to do their billing and catch up on it, or actually get a root canal they don't need. And let's see how many people pick the.
I go 50-50.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah.
That'll be a fascinating.
All right. So, oops, sorry.
No, fascinating experiment. I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. So billing, email, phones, calendar being your top 4.
Yes. And that if that is a full-time job for somebody, even for a brand new lawyer. But let's just say it's not, Drew. Let's just say that, because what happens is, and again, most of the firms we work with, they're not only solos. We work with a lot of firms who already have staff